Okay.
Well, say good morning.
Good afternoon.
It's good. So we are out this morning at the mountain for mountaintop conversations.
Yes. Good morning.
And Chanel is a little upset with me for waking her up
2 mornings
to come talk to the Lord and fellowship.
She woke me up and started me on my way against my will. And I'm tired.
It's okay. It's okay.
Me and Jesus be having bedside conversations, and she took me away.
Okay. Well, we are talking about this morning. We are talking about in our devotion. We talked about fear and how fear is so strategic and how fear is so slick and interwoven into the very fabric of our households, of our family structures. And we were just discussing about how when we tell our children, they're younger, our children are young, and we say when they go to their grandparents or their aunties or their friends' house, don't be telling our business, don't be saying this, don't be saying that, and how we wonder how they learn to be sneaky and how they learn to lie at an early age, and we don't realize that some of the things that we have set up in our family structures actually did teach them this, and we say, I don't know why they acting like this, and I didn't teach them that. And it came from, I'm gonna put the link up with this video, but it came from the worship this morning. Jesus Company, they one of the songs in there is I Will Not Fear, and I was sharing how this hit me very different this morning. It hit me very different, and it really did bring me to my knees, and it had me repenting for all of the times that I walked in fear. Now, a few days ago we talked about courage and how the word tells us that it is a commandment to be strong and of good courage. And I had to repent for the times that I was strong, but I did not show courage. And so what do I mean by that? I mean, I might have been strong and put up a good fight, but I didn't have the courage to take that next step towards my deliverance. And so a lot of times we wonder why we are stuck in certain situations, and it's because we may be enduring something. We may have the strength to endure something, but we don't have the courage to take the one next step or the one last step that we need towards the deliverance of the situation, the healing of the situation, the revelation of the situation, because we get stuck or we get stagnant. That's why we have a hard time letting some things go.
And would you say that it is fear that you felt even though you were strong, that the courage was replaced or subsumed by fear?
Absolutely. What the revelation I got for myself was that though I was strong, like you said, there was still some fear there. It was fear. I made it this far, but there still was fear of opposition of some kind, depending on what the situation was. Like when we have a hard time letting a relationship go, like a friendship, or you know what I mean, or even on our jobs. I think one of the things that is bothering me so is that how God's people are truly walking in fear, really subtle things of fear about learning the truth about who they are, right? The identity crisis that's being revealed to us right now, right? A huge one. And then the fear of success, the fear of failure at the same time. You're afraid to succeed and you're afraid to fail. So now you're stuck.
And there's a tension that exists when that is
Very absolutely. And so there's a fear of shame, rejection, right? So we go through certain things and people view us as a strong person, and we develop, a sense of shame and we don't know it because we don't want to appear weak, right? And so I believe that's one of the reasons why the Lord had me break down courage, because strength and courage, he wants those to go together. That was the commandment, to be strong and of good courage, right? Because as we can see, when one is without the other, there's going to be a deficiency somewhere. There will not be completeness. There will not be wholeness. Does that make sense? So I said that this morning, that we would just help somebody. I hope this helps somebody to understand. They say, well, why am I still here? Why am I going through this? And I did this and I did that and I'm still here. And then there's, okay, now what? There's the next step. How do we have the courage to put into place these things that we need to put into place to take that next step? Because this could be the finish line right here, right? And we're right here, right? And we can't cross over the finish line one more step. We have a hard time taking the next step into whatever we need to do to get the promotion on a job, or to take, and we can use relationships and anything as an example. Like even in my marriage, I had to repent because there's times when there needed to be a conversation and I didn't have one, not realizing that I was being fearful of the outcome, right? I didn't want to, emasculate him. I didn't want to hurt his feelings. I didn't want to cause confusion. I didn't want to look like the nagging wife. The whole list of stuff, right? It's all holistic stuff. And it's all from worldly perception, stuff that we've learned in the world, as opposed to dealing with the marriage biblically and specifically for us, specifically tailored for us. Other people's lives and testimonies are just examples to help you have courage, right? To help you be strong. But you have an individual walk, right, that you're supposed to take for yourself. I'm not supposed to look at my marriage and compare it to anything that I've seen or heard or read. I'm just supposed to see their example and then apply certain principles, right, to my life. And then so we can get our own individual outcome, right? So we can have victory too, because that road is not the same for everybody. The road to victory is not the same for everybody. Why? Because everybody have their own little crooks and corners, like this mountain. You see all of them little different, nooks and crannies in them. Everybody got a different little hole and nook and cranny, and that's like their heart, right? And they got all that stuff that they got to go in there and look around and dig out. And so when we don't realize how we shape and mold our children, right? And then they grow up and they got all these different nooks and crannies. Just the same thing happened to us. And fear is hidden in there. Different levels of fear, different types of fear is hidden in there. So it just really hit me different this morning. And it brought me to a place of humility, in the sense that I was able to go back and recognize, right, the places where I myself stunted myself, right? And so being a clinician, I know you would call that self-sabotage.
So what does it mean for you to not fear?
To not...
You can say, listen, I shall not fear.
I shall not fear. It's an awesome song.
What does it mean to not fear?
The confidence in knowing, and it's a childlike confidence when our children are around us. I know, like for example, one of my grandkids, when every time our kids sleep with us, then we let them sleep with us. I know psychologists say you put them out their bed. Well, when we come into town, even our own children, we never kicked them out. If they felt the need to come whatever night, they could sleep with us. Well, one of them said, why, they called me why. It's a Native American term of endearment for grandmother. They said, why, when I sleep with you, I don't have nightmares, right? So they're young yet to understand the power of God, but they trust, right? They don't fear because they trust that I have a connection with God, so much so that it will dispel anything negative that will come and try to cause them to be afraid or to lose sleep or to be fearful of the night, right? So when they trust you, when someone trusts you, it's no different than even in my adult life, right? When we go as an adult, when I go on a job, when my business partner, when Jalea sends me on a job, She trusts. She doesn't fear that the job is not going to get done. She trusts that I'm going to go and accomplish that which she sent me out to do. Right? So my desire from my soul is that when my Father sends me out to do an assignment, to do a job, get up in the morning, whatever it is, that he trusts that I'm going to do it. And I'm going to be strong and of good courage because I trust he who has sent me. And when you come into this trust, this knowing that regardless that he's sending us out here in the mountain on rocky ground, on all of this, that we gonna make it anyway, that we gonna get there. We might trip over that little rock, but we can get back up because we trust that he's got us and we're gonna make it. We're going to accomplish that which he has sent us out to do in this earth. We all supposed to be doing something in this earth. So those, you see people and you say, I wonder what happened to them. They was a one-hit wonder. I wonder, how come they got so much potential and they only right here? That's why I know that's my life. That's my testimony. People, I go back home and people say, I thought I was going to see you on Oprah. How come when I got my job, when I first moved to Arizona and I got a job at the Taylor place, and my boss, she says, she looked at my digital portfolio. She said, how come you're not further ahead than what you are? I shall not fear. This hit me different this morning. Fear of whatever. I was strong, but what I needed to be of good courage. So I said, Father, forgive me for every time I was strong but didn't show good courage. Forgive me for every time I let fear slip in somewhere, no matter how subtle it was. Well, you can't do this because you got to have this in place, and you got to do this, and you got to have it lined up like this, and you got to do it this way because this is the way people, and they look at you and they see you this way. And if you want the big people, if you want the people with the money to come and back you, this is the way you have to do it. And I'm not saying that there isn't order. What I'm saying is it instilled fear that I was not yet good enough. So I've been striving to be good enough first. I hope somebody hear this. Get this down in your soul. Get this down in your ruach or ruachs. You can subconsciously be striving for perfection and never meeting the mark of where you're supposed to be in your life. You can be gifted, you can be talented, you can be the fastest, the highest jumper, you can be all of that. The brightest, smartest, all of that. The $6 million man, you can be the Wonder Woman. Everybody's go-to. Help them meet their mark and yet never meeting yours. Because the enemy done slipped in and showed you where you were not yet good enough. You got one more thing you got to do before you can launch. You got one more thing you got to do before you can step out on faith and do something. And what do the words say about faith and doubt? They don't go together. It's impossible to please him. So I've been living up under grace and mercy. It hit me different, y'all. It hit me different. It hit me different. And we're not supposed to be living up under grace and mercy for no long time. We're supposed to be walking in life and that more abundantly. It's a purpose for grace. It's a purpose for mercy. When do you walk in abundance? And we hear it, and we preach it, we teach it to our kids. You can be anything you want to be, and don't know that we have blockages within ourselves. Like arteries, we got all these blockages and don't know what that is. because it's a fear thing. And we need to understand and recognize that it takes the power of the Most High. It takes Him, it takes His Spirit to not only come to this conclusion, but to give you what you need to do it and to stay with it. We have the world using these same biblical principles and being successful all the time, because His word not going to come back to Him null and void, right? But how many people have we seen that fall apart after they got it because it was all on them, and the Most High didn't get none of the glory? And here we are, His children, walking around stunted and afraid because we done been taught something crazy.
I think you're saying that this piece, I think, yeah, it's courage is not the absence of fear, it is to feel the fear. The fear is here. And to take the one step
Anyway,
to cross the finish line, even though your knees are knocking together. And I think the courage part, that, to use your word, that's hitting today is that piece about the courage is the confidence in knowing who you are, because God said this is who you are. And I think it's important too to remember He told, I think it was Joshua, do not be afraid, but be because I'm with you until the end of the age. I'm probably mixing up a whole bunch of stuff. But I think God recognizes that we would feel fear.
yes.
And He's saying, even though you feel the fear, know that I am He who is with you, even in the valley of fear, even in
Yes.
your experience of fear, whether it's fear of lack, fear of not knowing, fear of poverty, fear of failure, fear, whatever it is, I am with you.
Yes.
And that is supposed to be the impetus for us to take that last half step, that last push to cross the finish line. He said to run the race. Never said anything about it being easy
Never,
or devoid of fear.
because He knew,
Yeah,
which I think is amazing. I
Yeah.
just was like, thank you so much for being who you are.
yes.
You're the only one, because what He spoke yesterday is so relevant today, right?
Today, forever, yes.
And forever, and
Yeah.
forever, and forever. We can take the principles and use them,
Mm-hmm.
saint or sinner,
Boldly.
boldly.
Boldly. And I think that's a piece of fear that trips us up, because I think we get into that space of I am not enough, I'm not good enough, and I think that's what really gets us stuck.
Yeah, I haven't done enough yet. I haven't,
Because
you
then
know, I
we
gotta
become
pay my
afraid to
dues.
try.
I
What
gotta
if I
do
do
this.
this again and I fail again? What
Oh,
if
yeah.
I move in this direction even though it's a different direction and I fail again?
Yes.
What if? And
All of the what ifs.
we become immobilized, paralyzed.
Yes, we do.
Paralyzed by fear, paralyzed by fear of not knowing. And I think in those moments we do like an unknowing of who God is. Because
Oh, yeah.
we quote this very often, God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of love, power, and sound mind. The real walking out of that is when I feel the fear, to confess, declare, decree, I have love, power, sound. That is who I am.
Yes.
Back to the identity.
Yes.
My identity is love, power, sound mind.
Yes.
So I see you fear, I hear you fear, and you have now to be subject to my
Absolutely.
spirit of love, power, and sound mind. So when I feel afraid of the heights, I'm going to go on the heights because the scene from the heights is more beautiful than from down on the ground.
Yeah.
And I will speak to that fear, look, you got to take second place in what I want to experience of the goodness of God. And say, I am bound to love, I'm bound to power, and I'm bound to sound mind. So you shaking hands, you racing hard, you got to bounce.
You gotta bounce.
Because this is who I am in Christ Jesus. Not fear.
I love
And my
that.
palms will still be sweaty.
Yes.
My heart will still race, but I'm
Yes.
going to the mountaintop to see
Yes.
what the Lord wants me to see at the mountaintop.
I love
And I'll
that.
just dry my palms on my pants in the meantime. So
In the meantime,
I will still see the view and appreciate the view from the top.
from the top.
Ah,
And when they start getting sweaty again, because they will.
dry them
I
off.
think that sound mind should be something that everybody like focuses on first, because fear, like we were saying earlier, is like a seed that was planted. Even when you was talking about the relationships and raising up your children, I know I've got a bunch of friends who be like, I'm not gonna raise my kids the way I was raised because they parents or they mom or they dad or grandma, whoever they lived with, was kind of mean or whatever the case may be. Like me, my mama fixed me liver and onions one time. I cried my polo heart out. So I decided in my mind I wasn't gonna never make my kids eat liver and onions.
I mean, it was an Oscar-winning performance. You should have said it.
Because I thought, I'm like, what did I do wrong? Like, what? Hate me. I'm sorry. I love you. Don't you love me? Why you gotta eat
And the rest of the kids were sitting at the table just staring at her.
All my siblings was looking at me like, really, Chanel, come on. But that was a trigger for me, so it was like, my kids ain't never gotta eat this, we ain't never eat that, we eat pizza every day. So, but when you have different stuff, I know, like for me, with me singing, even though I had this group of people in my corner who was like, you got this great gift, you're so anointed, you got this, like a scale. I had all these people, and for a long time it was because it was something I love to do. I love to sing, I love to worship. So it's like this. So when I went out into the world and started doing it, well, not the world, but like in church, or even when I was in school,
wherever you had to,
I had a group in school. Some people was like, oh my God, oh my God. But the people who were either upset because somebody else didn't say the same thing about them, or whatever they issues,
whatever
they was
opposition
going through, they started planting them negative seeds. Your lips is big, your eyes is big, you're fat, you can't sing that good, you ain't really anointed. So my sound mind was gone. All I heard in my ear was, you're not good enough. I got called a fat Beyonce, I got called a fat Kelly Rowland, I'm not Kelly Rowland, a fat Kelly Price, and Kelly Price was already fat. So so that was everybody, to me it was wounding. So whenever it was time to go sing somewhere, it was that my sound mind was gone. All I heard was, you think you this, you think you all that. And I wanted to be accepted so bad. I wanted to have friends so bad. I sung wrong on purpose. We had a competition, and I knew I could kill this competition, but there was a girl who always placed first place. And I should have known then that she knew I could win, because me and her, we weren't enemies, but we weren't friends. So there was no reason for her to come to me and say the things that she said to me. I had gotten sick, I got bronchitis, my voice was going, but I worked really hard to get my voice back. I was training and everything, but I still went to the competition and purposely sung one of my songs off key. And anybody who know me know I do not like to study. I don't like school. And as much as I love music, I hate reading sheet music. But I learned one of them songs in a different language, and I went there, and because she was so mean to me before it was my turn, and I was just like, I don't have time for nobody to, but I was fearful. But all of the seeds that were planted in my ear was like, okay, second place is fine. I'll get second place. And that's what I did. I messed up on and what's crazy was my teacher knew. She was like, now you've been sitting here practicing this note for the longest. Why did you mess up? And I know you messed up on purpose. And it was just like, my voice cracked out. I tried. But when you have, I know it's hard, but when I know that when you have so much opposition and so much, like I know someone who can't move forward and certain, like to take that next step, to go over and cross over into the finish line, because they have someone in their life that if they do, that person becomes a victim. I'm yo this and I'm yo that, and how dare you talk to me this way, and how dare you treat me this way. And it's like, all I said was, I want something different for my life, that this isn't I know this is the path you wanted me to go on, but I've gotten word from the Lord, from multiple people saying that I should go left, I shouldn't go right. But because that person is somebody high in their life, it's like they've been stunted, and they continue to hear You ain't gonna never be, I'm your greatest help, I'm your this and I'm your that. So when you don't have that sound mind, you can't have the courage, you can't have the confidence to move forward, to eliminate fear or to do anything. So my advice would be, in order to get that confidence in yourself, in order to get courage to move forward to who God said you is, as hard as it is to put out all of that stuff, all of them seeds. Everybody got their own garden. So go to your garden and pick out all of them seeds that were planted by somebody else because of their fear, because of their, inability to have a sound mind. Because sometimes people, that saying that the world says, like, oh, they want you to do good, but not better than them, it is very much true. And people do have a big fear of, what if I succeed? Because if I succeed, now I got to take care of Bobby and Tracy and,
you got a whole list.
You got a whole list because you really think that you have to do stuff when, God didn't tell you this is who you, like MC Hammer. He got rich and tried to take care of the whole hood, and then he ended up having to be bankrupt because you didn't
he went through some things.
Yeah, you didn't tend to your garden that God gave you, and you got all of this stuff, that you're trying to take care of that you don't have to. You don't have to.
Like, I think she just unpacked several things, right? That fear caused you to make, you know what I mean? You're not making sound decisions. Fear causes you to underperform.
Yeah, so it's like, get your sound mind first so everything else can fall into place, because when you listening to what everybody else say, and I know that's my own personal testimony, is when you listening to everything else that everybody else, you can't hear from God. So then you praying, and it's like, I done prayed, and I done did this, and I done did that, and I'm still here, and I'm still stuck. Well, what does God say? I don't know. Because you can't hear from him because everybody else is still in your ear.
Your focus is on what's wrong.
I'm fasting, and I'm praying, and I'm fasting, and I still, and like you said, I can't do this because if I do it, I'm going to hurt everybody's feelings. I can't move here because if I do, I'm going to hurt this person's feelings, or this person's going to be unhappy. Just like right now, I got the step that I'm taking in my life, and I've had multiple people be like, well, ooh, why are you doing that? Oh, you doing this? And, oh, what's going on? I know the assignment that the Lord gave me, and I know what I'm supposed to be doing. But yet, here comes everybody else with their opinions and stuff. That's why sometimes it's okay to be quiet.
Move in silence. He say, study to be quiet.
It's okay to be
quiet. Move in
quiet.
silence. When you know that you are, when you're in a decision, when you're at a crossroad that's going to change the very trajectory of your life, you move in silence.
Because somebody going to say something. And
the enemy gonna send somebody.
If they seed don't get planted in your dirt, it's still gonna tick you off, and then it's gonna throw you off.
And it's not always deliberate. It's not always deliberate. Sometimes people
folks just
because we say stuff just in regular conversation sometimes, and the Holy Spirit had to come back at the, and say, what you say that for? You wasn't supposed to say that or what you said might not have been bad, but it offended somebody, right? And we didn't realize that we might hurt, so we as human beings, we say things or do things, unintentional.
Yeah.
And the enemy knows that, and he just uses those things to try to stunt us. And the word says that, whatever he meant for evil for our life, that he's the one that can turn it around, but that's contingent upon sound mind. That's contingent upon obedience. That's contingent upon, hearing his voice and his voice only, and even being able to recognize, because again, like the mountain I just showed, the heart. What's in your heart that causes you to lose your sound mind? What's in your heart that causes you to focus on something contrary to what you know to be right, what you know to be true, what you know to be sane? What is that's tickling your ear and having you pay attention to something that is not what you're supposed to be? You know what I mean? Because that's just like when you read a book, or when you when you read a book, it transports you somewhere. If you read a memoir, it transports you somewhere, and you have a different perspective on whatever the subject was, and so your perspective changes. So that's just like life. As you grow and as you gain knowledge, and as you know what I mean, you live this thing called life, you should have a different perspective. The Bible says when we're a child, we do childish things, right? When we become an adult, when we become, mature, we put away some childish things. So that means that some childish mindsets, and you know what I mean, so and expectations and things that are immature, really, is what I feel like the Lord is saying, that there's a maturity that should come to a place where it's like, okay, I'm an adult now, and I should be, you know what I mean, I should be thinking or doing things according to my level of maturity. So if we see that we're not operating in a certain way, right, we have to ask ourselves, what level of maturity do we really truly have? What do we represent, and what do we really, what do we really have?
And I think what Chanel said is important too. Is about, if my garden is untended.
Oh, come on,
then it
come
means
on.
Those seeds that were planted for my destruction, for my delay, for my distraction, would have been allowed to grow up into some
Yes.
trees, and I got to chop those down and then pull up the roots.
Yes.
For me to progress. Awareness is a thing, man.
And we can't expect somebody else to come and tend our
Nope,
garden.
It's my garden.
We can't expect somebody else to come. Like, people can come and give us the tools we need to tend our garden, but we can't expect them to be the ones to get down in the dirt.
And you also can't expect somebody to understand why you planted what you planted.
That's the truth.
The kind of flower God got in your garden may not be the same flower they got in their garden, so they not gonna understand.
And that's
you might
okay.
have flowers, they might have trees.
That's quite
They
all
might
right.
have trees, but they got, right.
Because there's a purpose for all of it, right?
Different produce down there. She got cabbages in her garden.
We
She's
need it all.
in the flowers, and she got cabbages. I want cabbages. You don't know how to, care for a cabbage right now.
I gave
daughter.
you right.
Yes, I can. So you go down there and you want to go pick up her cabbage seeds, and now you over here with flowers and cabbages and wondering why your cabbages ain't grow. Cause your dirt different. I look crazy trying to grow flowers out here in Arizona and get 115 on it. I told you to grow some cactuses. What you go over there looking for? Them ain't even the kind of flowers for your dirt. What is you doing, girl? I got this, Jesus. So it's important to this your path. Stay in your path. It's your garden. Stay in your garden. Know what you got. Because you over here trying to do some stuff that you ain't even.
And then have the courage to do that and be okay with it. And be right up, be okay with it.
I tell people all the time, that is not my shish. I just told my mama I got one head, one hat. That's it.
I give you multiple hats.
I am, and it's crazy because I'm a mama, but I am not a good multitasker. I know my strengths, I know my weaknesses, and I am proud because I have come a long way. So no, you can't put that on me, because you ain't gonna get mad at me when the things don't get done. I told you, give me one task at a time.
One task at a time.
I
Listen,
can be great.
she is
Just
telling the
one-
absolute truth, because I knew this as a child. I
Give it to
said,
me one at a
listen,
time.
I told her uncles, I said, if I give her more than 3 tasks, I can count on one of them not getting done. So that's my fault if I keep giving her 3 tasks, knowing 2 is her max.
And that's not just with my mom, it's with my friends, with my personal relationship, my intimate relationship. Listen, you want something done, and it gotta be, give me the time limit, and I'm gonna tell you how many I can get done. You need to call somebody else.
How long
in.
it's gonna take me to do it?
Better call somebody else in, because I'm telling you, because I take pride in everything I do, and I want to make sure it's done correctly. But I also take pride in everything else in my life. My office hours are from 9 to 5. I take pride in my sleep. Everybody, how your skin so? Because I sleep. I hydrate, I sleep, and I mind my business. And I make sure that whatever God told me to do, I get it done in that time frame, because he deal with me in dreams. So I get excited to go to sleep.
This girl.
I get excited.
Justification of the
And when you try to take something
Right.
away from me, so I make sure I do what you need me to do. So when it's time to do what I need to do, I'm tending to my garden. I helped you with yours. Now let me go on back over
She
here.
like, mommy, go on now, go on.
They just, mommy, is there? I'm telling you, ask anybody. Anybody who knows Chanel, do she need? Yes, she do, and she ain't playing. That's how
But
she
listen,
is.
it goes back to how we raise our kids, right? My mother told me that anybody know me know I got at least 18 irons in the fire. My kids probably was like, I'm not doing that. I'm not living that. That woman stressed us out when we was growing up, doing 100 things at one time, right? Fear of not getting something done, fear of not accomplishing something, fear of, right? Just right, you know, because I was a single parent, right? I'm a single parent, and I'm like, okay, we gotta, you know, I gotta make sure they look good. I gotta make, right?
It was all girls. And so the boys had hair, so everybody getting their hair braided.
I mean, it was like,
and cut, and
it was like, I mean, that's true, because even Billy, even my son knows beauty. He can tell a female how she's supposed to sit. Right, your track's not supposed to be short. So, you know, just, and I know it was, sometimes we're raised in households, especially as being women and women of color, we feel that we have to do more. We feel that we have to present ourselves a certain way all the time. Otherwise, you know what I mean? We do, you know, we get some backlash for some, you know, certain things. I remember we couldn't leave out the house, and my grandmother would be like, stop. And if it was a string hanging from your skirt, remember, it was just, so you do grow up with that sense of.
That's why I wouldn't go get the mail without making sure my eyelashes are done. I need my eyebrows arched. Where my lip gloss at is my hair done. If my hair wasn't done, let me wrap it up so at least I look presentable.
Right. So that's, you know, but that come from her and the fear where my grandmother was raised in Oklahoma, and they were dealing with racism. Like, it was still slavery and stuff. Right. So they grew up with that sense of, you know what I mean? So the forefront was your presence, how you represented yourself, and then you dealt with all the other issues in private and later. So sometimes that never got dealt with, right? Nobody ever saw the real person because the representative got more attention. The person that you sent out into the world got more attention than the real person. So we were, you know, you got to be smart. So we all had to do really well in school, and you know what I mean? I was an avid reader as a child because, you know, I remember her telling me one time, you funny looking, so you're going to have to be smart, because I had big ears, believe it or not. You know, so we do these things to our kids and we don't realize, because we just want the best for them. We just want them, right? We don't want them to, she didn't want us to suffer what she suffered coming up as a child, because she saw how the world was, right? So those are the things that we endure as human beings. But I believe the Father, in his word, he wants us to not focus so much on that, but to know that he came so that we can supersede these things. We can see them. My mother used to have a saying. She said, I see it and don't see it. You know what I mean? And sometimes that was good and sometimes that was bad.
That's where I got that from.
Yes, that's what Bobby used to say. But to be able to look at it and then not affect you to the point where you know what I mean, you began to exhibit bad behavior, you have bad coping skills, you have, you know what I mean, all of these things, all of these negative things that you have instituted into your life, trying to run from something, hide from something, fix something, and you or somebody else. And so
that comes right back to the fear that things
absolutely
will never change.
And my kids taught me that when they became adults and they started to tell me things like, you know, mommy this, mommy that, mommy, you passive aggressive, you know, and so I did the work. I've spent a year working on me, right? Because I said, you'll never call me passive aggressive again. I need to, you're right. And I sought the Father, show me what I'm missing, because there's no way I should be the age that I am and still doing things, handling things, coping with things the same way I was, right, when I was their age. There needs to be progress. If I expect progress in my bloodline, I have to be the example, right? If I want progress in my marriage, I need to look at myself, right? I'm wondering why, babe, why I gotta dig it out you? Just tell me what's wrong. Well, if I'm doing it, right? If I don't want to say something to him, because, you know, he don't want conflict either. So he not right. So we have to make sure that we are, like she said, tending our gardens and making it conducive for, you know what I mean, something good to grow, and not just stand there and look at it and judge it and be mad and say, you know, why my seeds ain't growing? Why, you know, why that? Well, what is it that you need to do for yourself? So I think that's why that song hit me so different, because the Father began to reveal to me how slick and how strategic the spirit of fear, this strong man of fear, can be, and how we can combat it and be victorious all the time. Not have these, you know, these seasons where you know, I'm doing really good, and then I wonder how I fell backwards, right? So to be able to have those moments, far and few in between, that you are truly walking in victory, right? And so, and we're not the example in the earth where you see some people, you look at them from afar and it's like, oh, they successful and they got this, they got that, and then you find out, you know, like Robin Williams, he killed himself because he was so unhappy. Funniest man on the earth, and was so unhappy, right? So I think that's what the Lord wants us to hear today. As don't allow fear to cause you to represent yourself in a way that is not a representation of who you are, who He created you to be, what you're supposed to be doing in this earth, who you are supposed to be in this earth, and to those around you. The example, whether it's being a mentor, we always should be working on ourselves all the time. I don't think we ever arrive. Next year I'm gonna be working on something else because I'm gonna be a year older, right? And there's gonna be something else, right? We have different relationships that come into our lives. We have different experiences. And so they are learning it. I think all of them are learning experience. I think we are on a journey of continual learning. I learn something all the time. I'm thankful to be learning something. I live my life filled with so much gratitude now that I literally, like, I'm telling you, I tell you all the time, I didn't come into the world with this much confidence. I get it now. So I should do like the teacher do in class. Whose phone is that? So I think, well, I don't think, I pray that this helps somebody dig really, really deep and see where fear has been slick and come in and choked out dreams, choked out progress, choked out things that could have come, you know, into your life that to bless you and to prosper you. Fear can bring in relationships that, you know, are distracting, that, like Chanel, like they just said, delay, detour, destroy, derail. And so we have to make sure that we are not operating in some level, some form of fear, no matter how small, how subtle it is, that we self-sabotage and don't realize that's what we're doing, that we cannot properly see, we can't properly discern, we can't properly hear what thus saith the Lord unto us in our particular situation, in a particular moment, at a particular time. Because, you know, He's been talking a lot about time. There's things going on that we have to make sure that we are where we're supposed to be when we're supposed to be there, so that we can avoid calamity in our lives, and we can be a light to show somebody else how to avoid calamity, how to get there. And so being very intentional about that, very intentional about that particular progress for our maturity and our spirit man and our natural man. And so we can do exactly what you said earlier, sis, is to bring it under submission, to tell the flesh it must bow. I command you to be subject to my spirit, not the other way around. Because we know no good thing resides in the flesh. So, I pray this has blessed somebody. We getting ready to get off here. We love you. Y'all want to say bye-bye? Y'all have any closing comments?
Bye-bye.
No closing comments?
It's not
Goodbye to my fear and my sorrow. Go ahead.
but it's worth it.
It's worth it. Every bit of it.
I think I oversung your two spots. You might need to say that again.
I said it's not going to be easy, but it's worth it.
Amen. All right, we love you
And
guys.
when it keeps popping up, just put it back to rest. Look, I killed you 2 days ago.
I'm gonna kill you again today.
And
However
I
long it
don't do
takes.
zombies. It's like you gotta be gone.
And don't do zombies.
Yeah.
All righty.
Until next time.
Until next time. I'm trying to
See you
figure
at the
this out.
mountaintop.
See you at the mountaintop. Love you guys. Bye bye. I can't figure out how to turn the camera around, so bye bye.